Your wagwan. Welcome to another episode of Moments with Marley, man. Guys, yeah, sometimes don't take yourself too seriously. Laugh a little, smile a little because, oh, why not? The joy of the Lord is your strength. I just wanted to deliver joy. That's why I started like that. Even me, I don't know. Anyhow, I was asking for a blazer the other day because I felt like I really wanted a blazer. Before I even had a chance to buy one, someone just gave me one. And this is someone who doesn't follow me on Instagram. That's where I had talked about wanting a blazer. They don't, I never mentioned to them. But they gift me clothes often. God just sends people to gift me clothes. I like it so much. I love it. It was, I don't know if that was a brag or it was a word for someone. God is able to do so much. You can just send people to give you clothes. I like clothes, but I don't buy them much anymore because I just always have people sending them to me. So good. Anyhow, so today we're starting a new segment on the channel, which I would like to call RRT. I have to keep going over it in my head and reminding myself so I don't end up saying RTT, which is Red Table Talk, which already exists. RRT, Relationship Real Talk. So we'll have a bit of every now and then we'll have some conversations that are specifically in line with relationships. So stories, my things really, stories, lessons, life. Just we think things like that. So I did a thing a while ago about lies that the world has taught us, one of which involved something to do with marriage, didn't it? I think it did. So now I have a more specific one in the area of marriage. There are two things that have run through my mind literally just now. I was sitting scrolling through Twitter, looking at different things, and I read a thread and a bunch of things, but it sparked a thought in me which sort of took me in the line of close to what I wanted to do, because I was thinking of, okay, how do I start this? What should be my opening conversation on this thing? And this sparked it, and so it was literally a few minutes ago, and I wrote the things down. I'm like, just go do it now, relax, go do it, get it out of the way, and then move forward. So here I am, I've come to do it, and then we move forward. So there are two things in my head. The first thing, so the general theme, if we'd call it that, would be age and marriage. We're going to address the issue of age. What does it mean? What does it look like? And all those things. The two things running through my head. Number one is this thing about, many times women particularly are told you need to first establish yourself, pursue career, pursue all the education you want to pursue, just go out and do all those things, make a name for yourself, what, everything, before you think about getting married. Here's why I don't necessarily agree with that belief or that, advice and counsel, because the way that people say it most of the time is as though they are stating that all of that ends in marriage. So it's a thing of, your life needs to end when you've achieved something, you've done something for yourself. So do as much as you can, collect your accolades, grow in your career and everything, so that now by the time you get married, at least you're somewhere, at least you're someone. Which it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's actually a lot better if you grow and build together. If you both start off not in a very high place, but you both have dreams and aspirations and places you want to be and all of that, and you come together to help each other get to that place. Life is better lived with the support of others. And if you have the support of a spouse, it can actually take you a long way. So I know so many people, and I can give you so many examples of people who have flourished more being in a good marriage than before they got into marriage and before they started to flourish. Of course, although they might not be the best examples in terms of they got married early, so they didn't even have a chance, even if they wanted to achieve so much outside of it. It was just, the usual school, university, what, finish, and then soon after marriage comes. So, not necessarily in terms of comparison of age, all this time they lived, didn't achieve much, then it exploded in marriage. Maybe not in that sense, but in the sense that you can see that because of the fact that they have a supportive spouse, they have done marriage and they have done it well, and they've been able to make a good name for themselves as themselves, or they've been able to do well in their career, to do well in ministry, to do well in just whatever aspect of life it is, even inside the space of marriage. So I don't necessarily agree with that notion that people give from the aspect of you need to do well because nobody ever says it. They don't say that when you get married it will die out or it will whatever, but many times that's the assumption that it gives, which isn't true. It's who you get married to that will determine whether you'll be able to flourish or not. So what the best thing to do is to sit with a person before. The idea of dating, I like to think of it as like an interview process. You have a job, which is marriage, a job, and which is like marriage. And so you have people in standing in a position for that job, and a date, and dating is the interview process. Of course, in this instance, you're dating like one person. You don't have like 10 people every day. It's like, a different person on the interview panel. But the idea of dating is that it's an interview process where you get to see how compatible you'll be with each other, if it's going to work. So you share your dreams and your aspirations. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to go. This and that, this and that. And then you see if you have the same dreams, or if there's any way you can fit into each other's lives. Like, do you see the way you can fit into their life to support them to get that dream done? Is there a way they see themselves in your life to support you to get that dream done? Or are you on opposite ends of the page? Those are things that will help you know. So whether you're getting married at 23 or you're getting married at 30 or at 40, it's that, because it's not, life doesn't end at a certain point. The way God designed us, the scripture says that the path of the just is like the shining sun that shines ever brighter unto the perfect day. So God's plan and desire for us is for each day to be ever brighter. That your tomorrow is better than yesterday, then the next day is better than tomorrow, then the day after that is better than the next day. Like, each day gets better and better. So there's no point where you peak in ministry or you peak in your career or whatever. You can slow down to a certain degree, but there's still a certain glory about you, from God's point of view anyway, and there's still impact that you can make, and there's still purpose that you have for as long as you're still living and breathing. So this thing of first grow, build yourself or whatever. So when do you stop? What is the mark that you've achieved success, that you've made it enough to now be ready for marriage? It isn't really there if you think about it. So I'd say have your dreams and your aspirations. That should be the first thing. So you know that you want to do 5 degrees in this, that, the other. You want to do a master's and a PhD, or this is the kind of thing that you want to achieve. This is how many people you want to impact, and this is how you want to do it, and that kind of thing. And know that, so that if a person comes along, if you're a man and you see someone that you want to bring into your picture, if you're a woman and someone sees you and you want to fit into their picture, you have something to present them with, and you're able to see if they'll be able to ride this journey along with you, or if they will not be able to handle. And they're also able to see if you ride that journey along with them, or they won't, or or you won't be able to handle. They won't be able to handle. You're following? Anyway, so yeah, so something of that sort. So it's not that you need to first achieve something, then you get married. You need to first have a plan, clear plan and purpose for your life, and then whenever it happens, it happens. So you're not putting yourself under pressure to say, okay, I have my plans prepared, let this person come, I'm ready. Or you're not saying, I don't want this person to come because I'm not ready, but like, just you are ready to move with the person in life, wherever life takes you, and you know that you're able to flourish even within the space of marriage. I do also know people though who have got married not 100% sure of what they want, who they want to be, where they want to be, where they see themselves, and their marriage still worked out. Of course, there were a few, maybe things here and there at a personal level where you're dealing with maybe insecurities, or maybe ups and downs of trying this and it fails, and trying this then it fails, or trying different things and then it fails. But again, you have a partner who loves you and is willing to support you, so they're with you through each of those seasons until you finally find your why. So yeah, like, you can get married without being afraid of not having achieved too much, because if you marry the right person, they will help you and allow you to flourish. And you should also make sure that you're the right person that is willing to help someone and allow them to flourish. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. So yeah, that's lie number one, is that the lie is that you need to first establish yourself to a certain degree before you can get married, because ideally it gives the impression that mnange, things may stop and fall apart when you get married, so at least have a certain level of achievements that whenever you die later in the future, at least they'll say, hey, by the time she was 35 she had achieved this, then it stopped there, which isn't true, because there's so much more outside of being a parent. Being a mother, being a father, those are great, honors and achievements and all of that, I guess you could say. But like, you can do a lot more besides just being a parent, even in the context of marriage. Like, you can still achieve so much and impact the lives of so many people inside. In fact, most of the time you find that the person you're married to becomes what you call a purpose partner, someone that you can do life with. Sometimes it just so happens that maybe you're doing it at different levels, because one person is maybe a more background person and the other one is more forefront, but you know that in some way, a great way, you are partnering together to have this particular impact that you want to have. So yeah, you don't have to first have everything put together, have it all written out on, like, a tablet of stone and say, this is it, this is what I want, let me at least start to achieve something. You can do it. It's possible for you to get into the space. And for some people, it's a thing of, because you want to maybe come into marriage with a certain amount of money, or you want to have, this, that, and the other. But the thing is, knowledge will set you far. So the earlier you know these things, the better. So I'm speaking to you, but also for the sake of your children, that you may teach them these things early. If we raise the next generation to be, savers from a very young age, if we save for our children, if we, all those things, by the time they're a certain age, by the time they're adults, they are not starting from scratch. They have something to their name. So they're able to get married at whatever time, because they found a person, because they have money and they're building from a certain point, as opposed to from zero. So maybe for you, that was the thing, it was the money thing, and you're like, I don't have so much, I don't want to enter and struggle, I don't want to this. You can at least change the story for your children, because there are people, it's not that people start making good money at 25 or start making good money at 30 and all of that, but also the way God is set up and the way he loves you, he's able to give you that good job at a young age. Fresh out of university, you get your first job, it's a good job, they pay you well, they treat you well, and then you have the wisdom to save some for your future, and then to spend wisely, to give, to do all these things. And so money is no longer such a thing for you. Like, you're able to trust God to be your provider, but you also are not struggling to the point of, I can't look after another person, or I can't, have to think about another person regarding my finances as well. I feel like I've digressed in a strange way for this last point, but I know someone has picked something. It just sort of came to me and the thoughts were not organized, so I'm just sort of throwing it out as it is, but I know someone has got something, so it's cool. The second lie: there is an age in which to get married. There is a window. To a certain degree, yes, in the sense that for certain people, maybe God has spoken to you in a particular season and told you, you're going to get married, this is the thing I want you to do, this is the thing I want you to do, and just given you maybe certain instructions or whatever. Once God has released the instruction, there is like an invisible time on that thing. There's an amount of time within which you need to do the instruction. If there's something God has told you, maybe as a woman, in order to make yourself findable and whatever, the window is not going to be open forever. So to that degree, there is like a window, but it's a window, it's not an age bracket, you see. So there is no particular time, which is why even when you look in the Bible, or when you read the Bible, it tells you about all these people that got married. This one found a wife, this one saw her from afar and he thought she was beautiful, what, all those things. It never mentions ages. Those things of ages are maybe in those romantic novels. She was a young lady, fresh out of university. She had deep blue eyes like the ocean. And then she had what? And because they describe with such a descriptiveness that makes you enter the theme, it starts to form, certain point of imagination in your mind, and somehow it starts to form a standard without you knowing. So then you start to think that, okay, this is the particular age within which a person should get married, this is the particular age within this, that, and the other, which it doesn't have to be. Of course, there's a thing of now, so the world has told us that your biological clock is ticking and what, which is true. But then again, are you going to believe God, or are you going to believe the standards of the world? Sarah gave birth to a child when she was well past her childbearing age, and Abraham was well past his energetic age. Like, I don't think that those guys were still having sex at that point, because they were old, and his natural vigor had diminished quite a bit. But God gave him the strength to be able to do it, and he gave Sarah the womb to be able to do it. So it's about believing God, because why would God allow you to get married at 45 and then block you from having children? Like, he's like, okay, let me do that miracle halfway. You get married, okay, you're 45, let's say the biological clock closes at 40, or you're going to get married at 45, but no, sorry, you can't have children. Why would he do that? That doesn't characterize a loving father, and God is a loving father. So the thing of time, it's up to you what you believe. So the thing of biological clock is really a matter of what you believe. If you have a conviction in your heart that God is able to do what man thinks is impossible, then you won't put yourself under pressure. If time looks like it's running out and your peers are doing what and whatever, and for you, you're not yet married, you won't put yourself under pressure. But typically the thing that people tell us is, I read somewhere today, between 21 and 24 years old. Then, there's another person whose videos I watch sometimes. There are a few things that he shares that I agree with, that I listen to, who talks about, then psychologically they say from 25 onwards. Then scientists say, between 21 to 24, maybe 25, or that kind of thing. Then if you have children past 30, then it becomes a bit risky. Past 35 is like high risk and all of that, which is like, okay, but me, I'm going to choose to believe God's part of the matter rather than the science part of the matter, because God is the one who has brought me and sustained me this far throughout my life. So I don't think that there is a particular age. I think it's possible for one person to get married at 21 and thrive and flourish in their marriage, and another person may get married at 21 and it collapses. And so you, as a person that got married early and had a bad experience, or the person that got married late and had a bad experience, don't generalize your experience for everyone else and say, I got married early, it didn't work out, or I wasn't happy, wouldn't recommend, or that kind of thing. So one of the things that I really believe, which is something that my pastor shared a while ago, that I've come to believe, having experienced it and learned a few things and everything, that most of the suffering in marriage is really a knowledge gap. It's that there's something you don't know about how best to sacrifice for your partner, how to serve them, something they don't know about how to serve you, something you don't know about how to relate with each other, something you don't know about marriage in general. There is just some sort of knowledge gap. And if we don't fix that knowledge gap, we subject ourselves to long seasons of unhappiness in marriage, which it doesn't have to be. I said most of suffering, not necessarily all of it, because sometimes it could be things like pride, just like the right thing to do, it in your head, but like pride won't let you, I don't know, or like unforgiveness or things like that. Like sometimes you know the thing to do, but you don't want to do it because you just don't want to do it. Like pride, you have a big head, that kind of thing. So most of the time it's a knowledge gap, and where it isn't a knowledge gap, usually it's pride. So there isn't a right age. What the right thing is that determines your marriage is maturity and knowledge. So that could come for one person at 21, maybe for someone else it will come at 30, maybe someone else 22 and a half. It's just, do you have the right knowledge on how to navigate the different seasons in marriage, and do you have the maturity to think about another person before yourself? The maturity to go in with the purpose to serve rather than to just receive. Do you have, it's just maturity and knowledge. So I don't believe, I would never stop someone from getting married because of their age. If someone came at age 21 and said, I want to get married, I wouldn't say, how old are you? You're 21, no, you can't get married. I would have a conversation with them about different things, hear the way they speak, hear their views on life, their views on marriage, what they're getting in, to what they're expecting as they get in, and all of that. And then that would help me know and determine and see, is this person really ready, or do they still need a little bit of brushing up and polishing? But it wouldn't be because they're 21, it would be because of the conversation we've had and the acknowledgement that there's a certain level of maturity that maybe they haven't yet reached. I met someone a few years ago. I was going to say a couple, but I only met the gentleman. But we were talking and having a conversation. I think maybe 2 years ago, so it's different now. Okay, no. Okay, so 2 years ago, he shared with me. I can't remember his age then, so I don't know his age now. But 2 years ago, he shared with me that he got married to his wife when his wife was 19 and he was 21. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, wow. And so I asked him, what was your experience like? What has it been like for you? And he said, you know what, genuinely, we've been okay. We've not had, like, I wouldn't say I regret getting married early or whatever. It's that I saw her, I met her, I knew in my heart, and I was ready. He spoke to the right people who told him about what marriage was, prepared him for marriage, all those things. So his heart was ready and he understood what he was getting himself into. His parents are married, still happily married, that he's been able to experience that in a loving home. So he's been able to see firsthand what a good marriage looks like. So it's something he grew up desiring. So the maturity was built much quicker because the learning is not too much. It's mostly observation. There's not too much to unlearn in terms of toxic behavior and all the bad things and lies and myths about marriage. Like, he's been able to witness it firsthand, how it works, what makes it work, and all of that. So there's something he already knew. He was already a step ahead of many of us that had to first deal with unlearning things, getting used to different things, blah blah blah, and all of that. So yeah, and they're happily married. They have, I think, 3 children now. So by the time he's 31, he'd have been married for 10 years and happily married, not the kind of married where they first had a season of turmoil, figuring it out, and all of that. In the beginning of marriage, the truth is there will be, let's not say turmoil, but discomfort, pushing back, adjustment, because there's a lot of adjustment. And in fact, why I think it's better to get married earlier is because the older you are, the more accustomed you are to your life and doing things your way. And when you get married, the truth of the matter is, no matter how accustomed you are to your things, you're going to have to adjust to a certain degree. So the beginning, usually you find that there's quite a bit of tension and friction here and there, but I use tension and friction loosely. It's not like heavy word fighting, beating, or whatever, which is where the knowledge comes in. Having people ahead of you that can teach you, share with you what they did, so that when you're dealing with differences, you deal with them in a peaceful manner, as opposed to actual friction of barking at each other, throwing hands, going through seasons of not talking, what silent treatment, and all of that. You don't have to go through that, but the disagreements will be there, they will arise. So it's understanding that, okay, the differences will be there, they'll come up from time to time, because this one behaves like this one behaves like this one sleeps by 9 p.m, this one sleeps at midnight, 9 p.m, that's when they start doing work, all the lights are on, they're dancing around the house, they're what, and it's like, you have to accommodate this person is like, also you have to accommodate this one, what, then like all sorts of things here and there, back and forth. So having to adjust. So there will be seasons, of course, in the beginning, a lot more of adjusting, learning your person and everything, but you can know how to deal with it. So the thing that will make your marriage good is maturity and knowledge of what to do in the marriage, wisdom, how to handle different situations. But also community helps, because when you do marriage in community, you start to realize that you're not alone. Like, a person will tell you about a problem they went through, then you realize that maybe yours is not as bad. Or you talk about your problem and someone will laugh at you and say, hey, that one we finished it 2 years ago, just deal with it like this, do the other. Then you go home feeling lifted and feeling like, oh my gosh, actually it's doable, this thing works, So yeah, so I feel like now if I just keep going, I'm just going to be going in circles and circles, which is not what I want to do. But I think that I've shared something and the point has been made. So the 2 lies are that you need to first establish yourself in your career and all of that before you get married, get involved with a partner. And the second thing is that there is a right age, there is an age within a specific age within where it's best to get married and that kind of thing, which it isn't, because it's just when God presents the person, when God thinks you're ready, and when you have the right maturity and knowledge on how to handle the different situations. So those are things that I think. And the other thing is to remember that there's a lot of adjustment involved. So if the reason you're waiting is because you think it's better when you're older, shockingly to you, you might find that it's actually a lot harder in terms of the adjustment, because there's a lot more that you're having to unlearn and a lot more you're having to adjust. If you think about the people who got married at 21 and 19, that's like fresh out of campus. So you've been in your parents' home under your parents' rules without any established rhythms of your own, in terms of leaving the house, coming back at this time, in terms of how do you organize things in a home, in terms of all sorts of things. So by the time you come here, like, your heart is real open. You're like, listen, I know nothing. Let's start and do this thing together. As opposed to now, me who got married, let's say at 26, I have certain routines. This is what I do. This is what I do when I wake up in the morning. This is how I do it. This is how I keep my clothes. This is how I want. Like, all those things. And then there's a person who operates opposite to you in some of these ways. And then you're kind of like, how do we bring the two together? Or how do we not bring the two together? You have your thing, I have my thing, and we accommodate each other without it, So yeah, those are the lies about marriage. I hope you've learned something today. I hope this has been a helpful video. Share this with someone who's married, unmarried, thinking about marriage, not sure about marriage, all of that. Everyone could have something to learn, I think. I hope this was helpful. Yeah, have a good day, a good weekend, a good week. I don't know when you're watching this, but thank you for watching. Enjoy yourself and have a good day. If you haven't given your life to Jesus yet, today is a good day. All you have to do is say, thank you, Lord, for loving me and for your sacrifice. Today I receive you in my heart. Take my life and do something significant with it. In the name of Jesus, we pray and believe. Amen. Why am I insisting that you say this prayer? Because life is so much better lived when you have God by your side, because He guides you on the things that you have to do. So even all these things we're talking about, marriage and all that, He'll help you to apply the more specific situation for you. That whatever it is regarding your life and your marriage, or your soon to be married, or your whatever, He will let you know when it's time. He will let you know what season of your marriage you're in and what you need to do, or guide you through your singleness and all of that, as opposed to when we do it outside of Him on our own, because our knowledge as human beings is limited. So it's better to do it with someone who has limitless knowledge and wisdom. Thank you for watching. Say that prayer. It will change your life, and send me a message when you've said that prayer. My Instagram is Marley Quaker, or you can send a message to 0775 642 449. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.